you found $100 on the street, would you pick it up or would you keep walking? Of course you would take the money. So why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? Go to MyBookie. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay you when you win. Let's face it, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. Do the smart thing. If you're going to bet this football season, bet with MyBookie. Did you know you could bet on games after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like your bet is going to lose, you can always just take the other side. If you're the kind of guy that likes to bet a little and win a lot, try a parlay. If all your picks come through, you'll multiply your winnings, and no matter how you bet, the NFL season is the best time of year. Join now, and MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use promo code BLUEWIRE to activate the offer. That's promo code BLUEWIRE. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
Blue Wire.
Kirk Cousins, he's going to be a Minnesota Viking. This was the right call.
Cousins, pressure, hit as he throws, going for Thielen. He's got it! Touchdown! Oh my Diggs, stay on! Oh my God! 30, no way! Touchdown! It's a Minneapolis miracle!
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in to Bleeding Purple, a podcast about the Minnesota Vikings. My name is Tyler Haig. I'm joined by Adam Patrick, part of the Blue Wire podcast network. I almost forgot to say that. Hey, Adam, how's it going?
Hello. We are, it's week one.
Week one. We're here.
We made it. We made it without Matt Weil, without Corey Vedvik, without a fifth-round pick.
Oh my God, so much to get into as far as the final cutdowns were concerned. Let's get into it right away. Obviously, the final 53 has been set. Some notable not on that list. Treadwell, not invited. Slaughter, not invited. Zylstra, not invited. Badet, we talked about a little bit already. Any other notable names that you can think of? The Treadwell one was interesting because it sounded like they were shopping him. Slaughter, obviously, we've talked at length, and we will talk more about him. But the wide receiver thing, I think, was kind of interesting the way that played out, was Zylstra not making the team, Treadwell not making the team. What do we make of, I guess, the entire final 53, but specifically just these wide receivers and like the way they decided to go?
Well, obviously they weren't impressed with what they saw from most of them in training camp in the preseason, and it wasn't worth them keeping any of them around. I don't blame them. It's not like, as much as Zylstra would have probably been fine as the fifth receiver. Obviously, he didn't show them enough to stay there, and we know the story on Treadwell. He didn't do much of anything during his tenure with the Vikings, even though he thought that he did great, and he wasn't, he had no worries like the Lion King.
He did have a career year last year, let's be fair. He did have a career year.
He did. He had as much production as Adam Thielen did in 3 games last year that he had the entire year. Mm-hmm. So he's gone. He didn't get claimed by anyone on waivers. Surprise.
That to me is maybe the most telling part of the whole deal, is that he's out there, anybody can have him if they want him, and he runs through the whole list and nobody is interested in.
Well, it might not have been.
Would they have needed to compensate because of his draft status? Oh, okay, that would make more sense.
That's probably why he went unclaimed, because if a team picked him up, they would have had to pay his current salary, which I think is close to $2 million.
Yeah, and that ain't happening.
No.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so now a team can sign him to like the veterans minimum or anything like that, or the practice squad, because I think he's still eligible for that because he hasn't been on one. So I think he was meeting with the Bills today. I saw that report out there today. So they're trying to see they're kicking the tread on Treadwell.
God.
Dad. I gotta throw the dad joke in there.
Barf.
But yeah, they started with 4. They only left. They after Saturday's cuts, they only had 4 receivers on the active roster. I know Dylan Mitchell and Davion Davis were signed to the practice squad. But yeah, other than that, but then
dun dun dun.
Monday, Vikings made a move to sign Josh Doctson.
We were texting about this a little bit earlier today, and I said I basically was like, it's hard for me to be optimistic about this signing because, like, I don't think he's going to be that great. And you made a great point, and you said, well, he's going to be better than Treadwell. And that is 100%. That's the way to look at it. Where does he line up in the depth? He's totally, come on in, bro. You're number 3, probably, or 4, whatever. But
probably
still,
4,
you get what I'm saying, though, is like that. If that's the pecking order, then yeah, you're better than all of the other options that we had for that spot. So yeah, he can definitely come hang out.
I think you got to keep the best thing to do with him is probably keep your expectations low. Mm-hmm. It's a 1-year deal. And if he does good, then he does good. And, he's played with Kirk Cousins before. I think in 2017 he caught 6 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Cousins, and that was probably his best season ever. So last year he had to play with 3 different quarterbacks.
They had a tough year last year in Washington.
Anybody coming from the Redskins offense, I think it's tough to evaluate just because they haven't really been able to do much in the past couple of years except for when Cousins was there. Mm-hmm. So expectations are low. I'd put him probably ahead of BC Johnson on the depth chart. Put him behind BB. He's got some characteristics that the Vikings could work with. They liked him a lot coming out of the draft. I think they wanted to draft him, and then the Redskins picked Doctson 1 pick ahead of the Vikings, and then the Vikings kind of scrambled maybe and went with Treadwell. But the Vikings had a lot of interest in him going into the draft, and I think that played a big factor in them signing him, which is I think it's a 1-year deal. So just trying to see what he can offer them, and if he can offer them something, great. If not, then oh well. It's not like he's costing them a whole lot of money.
100%. We've seen this move a number of different times before. It just usually is a little bit older of a dude, and most of the time when
Michael Floyd.
100%. That's what I was going to say. Most of the time when we see that, we see these guys coming off the field issues where they got cut, not because of their play necessarily, but more so because of extracurricular stuff going on. Not the case here. It's more of a just not playing the way he needs to play, but when you file him into this group with all of these, with the Michael Floyds of the world and these 1-year, Aldrick Robinson is another one that comes to mind, guys like that, he is going to fit that mold, and he might be a better option than a lot of those other guys that we see, where we just have a little bit of name recognition, probably not as good as they once were. But I think this signing, the Doctson signing, could be helpful in I think he's got a better chance of being productive than a lot of these other veteran minimum 1-year signings that the Vikings have made in years past.
Yeah, his ceiling's definitely higher, I think, than some of those other guys. But Aldrick Robinson was a pleasant surprise, I think, last year.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For the Vikings. So you never know with these guys who the Vikings like to take some chances on, especially for the receivers that they like to bring in. You just look at Jordan Taylor. They thought, he could be the 3rd receiver this year, and he didn't even make it to the final preseason game.
Yeah.
So, I like to just keep my expectations low with these kind of signings, and then if they do well, then it's great.
Which is exactly what happened with the Aldrick Robinson thing, where it was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, yeah, that's great. We'll totally take that. I wasn't expecting anything from him. Sounds awesome.
They have Diggs and Thielen. And we know they're good. So
that sounds great to me. We'll go with that and see what we need to handle after this. Let's talk a little bit about the minor disaster / what happened with the kicking, the punting, the specialists, the special teams in general. So now not only have we cut Vedvik, who was worth a 5th-round pick just moments ago, and now we release him for nothing. He is signed for whatever to get... Ugh. And not only that, Adam, then they cut the punter. Then they make a move at punter, because God forbid you just have one of those for more than 1 year in a row. Yeah. Like what? Why on any of these moves? I mean, the Vedvik move makes sense because he didn't make any kicks while he was here. Has Vedvik been signed by somebody else, or is he a possible? Did the Jets wind up getting him? God dang it! Because I would, if you bring him back on the practice squad, okay, I could still maybe justify that. I could still whatever. No, not a 5th round pick for no reason to give him to the Jets. Great.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised that the Vikings were, able to admit that they made a mistake in bringing him in. For whatever reason, it just didn't work out. I think from the way that they used him, they clearly wanted him to be the kicker, I believe.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Because if they wanted him to be the punter, he probably would still be there. Because I don't think he did horribly when he got chances to punt in the preseason games that he played in, but kicking wise, he just couldn't make anything. So the Vikings were like, okay.
Here's my
cut our
question:
losses and let you go.
Here's my question: is why do you not get rid of Weil and keep him as the punter and save face on the 5th round pick? Like that seems like a practical move. It's like at every turn they make a decision that I just don't understand. I understand getting rid of him and not making him your kicker. I get that. Yeah. But if he can punt too, why not? And you're going to bring in somebody? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember Vedvik being in there holding for anybody on like Bailey's kicks or anything, so that might have played into it. His skills as a holder, but
he's just the only guy in the world who can't hold. Like literally.
I don't remember Tony Romo being that great at,
but he
being
did.
A holder.
I remember vividly him being a holder.
Had a little blunder in a playoff game, if I remember correctly. But
turf monster.
The guy they got now, Britton Colquitt.
Colquitt.
I believe his name is. He's a solid veteran. He's been with the Broncos and Browns. Very good holder, from all reports.
Thank God.
He said today that Bailey made up all 6 of his kicks with him as a holder, so that sounds pretty good.
Good.
To me. That's also practice, which apparently is matters a lot in Minnesota to some people.
They do a lot of or not to some people. It just depends. It depends on the time of day and the situation. Also worth discussing 5th round picks and whether they're worth something or not, because depending on the situation, they can or cannot.
We'll see if this group of 3, Austin Cutting, the long snapper, Colquitt, and Bailey, are able to last for an entire season.
Oh, yeah. Let's do like an over-under like guess, because this is kind of like our little like 2019 preview. We're going to do that in a second here, but like... how many of those 3 are on this team at the end of the season when the Vikings are done playing?
Well, it's interesting because the Vikings also have a kicker on the practice squad this year. They just signed someone. I can't remember his name right now, but he was with the Bills when they played them last week, and he hit like a 50-some-odd yard field goal. So Dan Bailey, maybe not on the...
Watch your back, bub.
Yeah. He's not in the great. His job probably isn't in the greatest of standing right now.
I would agree with that.
But I also feel like he showed in his limited preseason snaps or whatever that he's looking better than last year. He didn't do that great in training camp, I don't think. But again, it's practice. Don't really care what you do in practice if you make kicks. In the game.
See, and that's the other thing that we have to keep in mind here is if Dan Bailey goes out and hits 2 big kicks early in the season, none of this matters and we're all fine. But it just feels like they're building this like tension and this stress that like doesn't need to be there by shuffling it so often. Would you agree with that? Do you think it seems unnecessary at this point, the shuffling?
You're asking if the Vikings are creating a problem out of nothing?
Yes, in the kicking game
they would never
specifically.
Do that. They would never do that. Right. They would never. There's only the 4th different punter to open the season in 4 years.
God, it's just...
So
one of whom did not... Yeah, we don't... All right, that's all the special teams discussion I can take for this episode, because I just am. Normally, I want to get into it, and I just don't understand why they're doing it like this. Most of the time, you can at least, even if you don't agree with what they're doing, like Slaughter, I don't necessarily agree with that move, but I understand why the move is happening. Yeah. The kicker stuff, I don't get. I don't know why you're doing it like this, Vikings. Don't do it like this.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. No, I don't know if there's anything anybody can.
I don't know what is right, because I'm not a coach on the field, and I can't tell you anything, that they do wrong, because I don't know what's going on in that meeting room. I don't see every day on that practice field. I can't tell from, covering a team for a long time and watching football for a long time.
Preseason games and all of the media access, access that we get because of the online media, et cetera, et cetera.
I can't tell anything.
Yeah, it's tough to have an opinion when that's all you get to look at.
Yeah.
Enough about special teams. Let's talk about special razors. Harrys.com/Blue Wire is one way to get incredible razors. 10 million people have tried Harry's. Harry's founders were two regular guys tired of getting ripped off and paying for overpriced razors. They make quality, durable blades at a fair price, just $2 per blade. If you don't love your shave, let them know and they'll give you a full refund. This summer, refresh your wallet and your face with a trial set. Comes with a weighted ergonomic handle, a 5-blade razor with lubricating strip, rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover. Listeners of Bleeding Purple Podcast can redeem their trial set at harrys.com/Blue Wire. Make sure you go to harrys.com/Blue Wire and redeem their offer, and let them know that we sent you to help support the show. Yeah, man. Let's talk a little bit about Slaughter. I get the move, like I said a second ago. I understand why they did it. Would you, if it was up to you, your choice, where do you go? Even just
I would have kept 3 quarterbacks.
Okay.
Because they kept 10. I think they kept 10 defensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's maybe a little excessive. But it's defense again.
Yeah, so easy to justify on a Mike Zimmer team. You can be like, all right, yeah, probably.
Yeah, they also kept 10 offensive linemen, which I have no problem with.
Mm-hmm.
But they did keep 5 running backs, including C.J. Ham. So they kept Abdullah and Boone.
Mm-hmm.
They probably could have done without Abdullah at least and kept Slaughter, but at this point, I feel like they probably got rid of Slaughter for distraction reason. Because
100%.
If Cousins goes down and they put Mannion in, they know all they're going to hear every day in the crowd, wherever they go, is put Slaughter in.
100%. I completely agree with you, and I would have done the same thing if I were the Vikings in that point. Yeah. I would have given Slaughter more run with the twos, whatever. That's my opinion on that. But given what they were looking at on the day of the cuts, I would have done the exact same thing with Slaughter. He cannot be on this team if you want to function. Like either he's number 2 or he's not on the squad, because there's no way you can function with that guy if you have an injury to Cousins or whatever, and you have Mannion going. Exactly like you said, it would be awful. It would be worse than Bridgewater, Keenum stuff.
That wasn't even
really a debate to
probably
be had.
A possibility.
Yeah, exactly. It would. Oh man, it would be crazy. So from that perspective, I understand it. Now, am I going to change my Twitter avatar to an Arizona Cardinals logo? Because I'm not going to do that. I would understand if people would do that. I do like the situation he's in though now with the Cardinals, because they only have 2 quarterbacks. One's a rookie. One's Brett Hundley. Mm-hmm. He might Slaughter. He's only on the practice squad. Yeah,
but the Cardinals' offensive line is horrible. So the chances of Slaughter being activated to their roster at some point this year seems pretty good.
A lot better than most other places.
Yeah.
If you were looking at all of the landscape of options that he had, I bet that's the most likely to play.
Because I know he had He was going to work out with the Lions, I believe, today, but he signed with the Cardinals first.
Okay.
And also, is it really that bad to spend your football season in Phoenix?
No.
I don't think so.
I can think of a number of places that would be worse. One would be
lot
here
better than
where
Detroit.
I live. Yeah. or Minneapolis for that matter.
Right.
Egan.
But I feel
those.
bad for the guy because I don't think he ever got a fair shot. I don't think they ever really gave him a chance to even have a chance at the number 2 job, which makes me wonder, like, then why'd you keep him around if you weren't even going to give him a fair shot? That's all I think people have been asking for and been wondering. People aren't, pounding the table for him to be the number 2 quarterback or the starter. Everyone who supported him just wanted him to get a fair shot. And if he failed, then that's fine. But we never found out if he could fail or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the whole thing that's bothering people. And then what's getting blown out of proportion is everyone wanted him to, be the number 2 guy or just cut Mannion instead of him. Like, no, people just want him to get a fair shot, get an opportunity that they felt he deserved because they see what he can do out on the field in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes out there and does all that stuff every time, he should get an opportunity. But the Vikings obviously already had their mindset pretty much before I think the preseason even started.
Yes, I would agree with that because how much as a fan of football, how much fun would it have been to have that final preseason game be Slaughter versus Mannion, and they can just go head to head? That would have been really fun to watch. And maybe the Vikings coaches don't want that because they have made their assessments and think that would unfair, whatever. But like, just from people wanting to see that, like that's fun. That's why we watch football, is to see competitions like that. And especially preseason football, you're begging people to watch. And here's a beautiful reason to get people to tune in, and you're totally squashing it because you've already made up your mind on who's going to be number 2, which is totally their call. And if they want to do that, that's fine. But I agree with you. The conversation that we were trying to have was, why can't we see that? Why can't I see them on the same the same playing field, for lack of a better term?
And I've seen the argument that 2 different organizations have cut him now. Actually, it's pretty much the same regime that cut him.
It was all the same guys.
Because in Denver it was the Kubiaks that were there and they let him go, and then in Minnesota it's the Kubiaks
who were there and let him go.
Yeah, I think with that hiring, even though it's probably a good hiring for Minnesota, Slaughter's days were as soon as the Kubiak were hired by the Vikings.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. As soon as Kubiaks came in, Slaughter had to know that he was maybe not going to get the fairest of looks, maybe.
Because maybe if it was just Stefanski, I could see Stefanski sticking with Slaughter because he seems more of like a more modern type of offensive coordinator, more like, if you can make plays, and we're going to give you a shot.
Yes, more modern in the sense of you don't have to fit a predetermined mold for quarterback.
Right.
If you can get the job done, then that's cool. We can work with that. Yeah. Whereas I think the Kubiaks are probably a little more. How come he doesn't look more like John Elway?
Check and stuff.
Yeah,
he should look more like John Elway. Check. If you're going to be a backup, then we pretty much need you to be like another quarterback coach, which I feel like Sean Mannion pretty much is at this point.
Which again is like totally okay for them to do, but I just wanted to see Slaughter and Mannion compete at the same level and see who performed better, and we never got that chance. And I think it's fair for us to be frustrated by that.
You just worry if Cousins goes down, and I've also seen people will, like, every team worries about their starter going down. But that's why you should have a backup that you feel comfortable going in for at least a few games. Like look at
properly vet the backup position, and that's where we didn't feel like we saw everything that we needed to see. And we were left with concerns.
Look at the Colts. Andrew Luck just retired, and they're still pretty fine because Jacoby Brissett isn't that bad. I just saw today they signed him to an extension, so they're still able to be. The Colts are going to be competitive this year, probably, with their backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
because they made sure that they had someone who was capable.
Well, and it wasn't all that long ago that we had an injury to a quarterback, and then a number 2 quarterback named Case Keenum came in and had to play well and played well, and they did what they needed to do. It is important to have a good backup, especially now in the NFL, because these quarterbacks aren't like Brett Favre Iron Man stuff anymore. Like, they will get hurt. They will have to take a game off every now and then. Although Cousins has been good. I think that maybe that is the number 2
that
spot.
Probably plays into it too.
Yeah, and maybe that's the best way to look at it is if you're donezo either way. No, you can't. But do you feel
look
like
at Alex Smith?
Yeah.
That freak that could easily happen to anybody. That freak injury.
It's football. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It just happened to Teddy Bridgewater. He didn't even get hit. He just like fell down and his leg fell off. Allegedly.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean I think it's fair for us to be concerned with the number 2 quarterback. I think it's fair for them to have already decided that Manning was the guy. But I think for us to wonder why Slaughter isn't getting looks, I think is a perfectly legit argument. And I think anybody like doubting that or trying to dismiss that is kind of missing the point.
Yeah, I still haven't heard an argument other than the coaches know better than you, and that's why they made their choice.
Yeah,
you can give me something else.
Totally. And that's all I'm
that's
looking
not
for is like
that's
an actual,
not an argument.
Yeah, give me an actual football reason. Well, he looked bad in practice. It's like, well, I mean, all right.
That's what the coaches say. You know how many times Mike Zimmer's lied?
A lot. And also, like, look at practice performances from any of these other, like, kickers and I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, we're really going to go off of practice to be like,
Treadwell's
well,
great
this
at
is
practice.
the reason. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, looks awesome. Every preseason, he looks great. Let's move on. But first, let's talk about ShipStation.com. When you're selling online, getting your orders out can be a pain. That's why you need ShipStation.com. It's the fastest, easiest, and most affordable way to manage and ship your orders, no matter where you're selling. Amazon, Etsy, your own website. ShipStation brings all your orders into one simple interface. They help you get orders out quickly, save money on shipping costs, and keep your customers happy. And right now, Blue Wire listeners can try ShipStation for free for 60 days. Use promo code BLUE, BLUE. There's absolutely no risk. You can start your free trial without even entering your credit card info. ShipStation works with all of the major carriers, USPS, FedEx, UPS, even Amazon Fulfillment, so you can compare and choose the best shipping solution for you and your customers. No wonder ShipStation is the number 1 choice of online sellers. You'll ship more in less time with the best rates available. Visit ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in BLUE. ShipStation.com, promo code BLUE. ShipStation.com, make ship happen. The full-on 2019 preview. We should get some NFL music behind this. Maybe I'll
throw
that in
out
later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw that in later. But anyways, 2019 preview for the Vikings. Let's start on offense. Obviously, this season, we're gonna live and die with Kirk Cousins. The Vikings are going to go as far as Kirk Cousins is going to allow them to go. I think that's a fair statement. Do you think that Kirk Cousins can come up big? I guess the way I want to word this is in big spots, because Kirk Cousins over his career, he's played well. He's done things at a very high level for stretches, but not in the spots where he absolutely needs to play his best for his team because they need him to play his best. He doesn't play well in those situations. Do you think he can play well in those situations for the Vikings this year?
I think he's got a better chance than maybe some years in the past, just because of the offense that he's in. I think they're going to try and put him in, the best situation possible, try and take pressure off of him to, feel like he has to carry the entire offense. I feel like in his last couple of seasons, with last year with DeFilippo and his final year in Washington, it felt like both offenses were relying on Cousins to pretty much, do a lot for them. And I think the Vikings are trying to make sure that doesn't happen this year, that they, improve their running game and make that more of a focal point of their offense and just have Cousins, be able to go out there and execute and not, feel like he has to overthrow or try and fit the ball in between 3 guys just to make a play. Like He can throw the ball away and still feel okay. You know, like we'll go out there on the next drive and get something done and not feel like he has to, make this amazing play to carry the offense, or else they might not get any points.
Yeah, dude, that's actually a really good point. Is he's been playing the last probably realistically 3 seasons with coaching staffs and front offices who are like, well, you're supposed to be a franchise quarterback, so lead us there, Kirk. So I think just not looking at him to perform like that, I think will help so much. And obviously, as you said it, this offense is not going to ask him to do that. We saw enough of that last season. I think that was the whole reason the Kubiaks were brought in, was so he didn't have to throw the ball 40 times. They didn't have to say, well, Kirk, you're the franchise quarterback. Aren't you supposed to lead us there?
Yep.
I think he will be more successful. Do I think that he is going to excel in the big situations? I don't know, dude. And it kind of worries me a lot about this team, because he'll need to be successful in those situations if they want to make the playoffs or go deep into the playoffs. Like, he's just going to have to do that. And I don't know if he can, man. I don't have anything leading me to believe that he's going to.
Hey, you know what? Joe Flacco's had a really good season before.
Yes.
Eli Manning, I think Kirk Cousins is capable of having a season
totally
like that.
Totally capable of it, yes. And that is, as a Vikings fan, that is why I'm so excited about this season, because I'm waiting for him to do that. But if you're asking me to put $500 on whether or not he can do that, my money is going on because I don't think I've seen proof that he can do that. But I want him to do it. I think he can do it.
For sure.
But I'm just not willing to put a lot of money on it.
I don't blame you.
Next question, preview. Dalvin Cook. Can Dalvin Cook stay healthy?
I hope so.
The Kirk Cousins thing is they go hand in hand. Kirk Cousins gets better. It's easier for Kirk Cousins to be better if Dalvin Cook is healthy and playing, because Dalvin Cook is really good when he plays.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are more prepared this year than the past 2 years for him to not be healthy.
Yep.
And it might be they're more prepared for him to, not get as big of a workload, at least maybe at first. Just, get him in there, maybe put Madison in on goal line situations or something like that, short yardage situations. I would like to see Mike Boone get in there maybe a couple times, because he's done really well every time we've seen him out on the field. But yeah, this offense is perfect for Dalvin Cook. He showed that in his 85-yard touchdown run that he had against the Cardinals in their preseason game. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of potential this year. He's just got to stay healthy, and that hasn't been able to be done the past 2 years. It's hard to predict, because he wasn't. I don't think he was super injured in college. Mm-hmm. But ever since he's been in the NFL, it seems to be a problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they
we'll see. He's 2 years.
Because it was such
2 years
a big
removed
injury.
from his ACL.
Yeah. Because it was an ACL, then of course the hamstring happens because of the ACL. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of see the trend there. And if he can get it to stop, I think hopefully he can stay healthy. But yeah, again, that's another one. Would you put money on it? Well, no, because I have all of this evidence leading me to believe that probably isn't going to be the case. But
you could look at Stephon Diggs too, because he's in his first couple of years he missed a couple games. Mm-hmm. People gave him I think he missed 3 games, and people gave him the injury bug label for some reason. But then last year I think he played in 15 games. He's figured out how to stay healthier and stay in games longer. So I think as you progress in your NFL career, you figure out what works for you, and
for sure
how to recover and how to keep your body healthier. Don't be Antonio Brown and go into cryotherapy with no shoes on.
Frostbite blister your feet.
Yeah.
That looks awful.
I think the Vikings have that in their practice facility.
Yeah, they do. Yes, I have seen a thing
chamber
on that. Yeah.
So
it's important to wear
hard to
mittens and stuff when you go into those places because it'll frostbite you, man. That's what it's what it's doing. But yeah, Cook staying healthy, I think it's so important for the team in general. And yeah, it looks. I think you nailed it right away. Where they made an effort to be ready for him to not be there.
Yeah, he's a difference between 9-7, 12-4.
100%. Yeah, For real. If he can play up to his potential, he could be that good. Wide receiver 3. Who's gonna stand up? Who's going to rise to the top? I don't know. It feels like BB right now, but
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if BC Johnson, kind of emerged as that guy this year.
He definitely has the most momentum going right now.
Oh yeah. We'll see if that can carry into the season. But the only thing that makes me worry about BB is his health, because he's had health problems in his entire football career.
Yes.
College and pros. So that's the one thing that makes me a little skeptical about him, staying the third receiver all year. There's no question he's got, the talent and the ability to get open and stuff. And then you look at somebody like Doctson, who they just got, and where he can line up and what that does for, Diggs and Thielen when they're out on the field as well. So you kind of just have to – I think the Vikings still have to figure out who's going to emerge as that third receiver guy. Might be BB for the first couple games, but someone could emerge in those games when they get snaps on the field and do well. So I don't think they know right now. Maybe like in a month or two, they'll probably be able to know who exactly is going to keep that role.
Mm-hmm. One of the more interesting thoughts or like ideas I kind of heard during training camp was maybe the third wide receiver isn't as important as we're making it sound because of the tight ends that they have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One very young tight end who might be very good, Irv Smith Jr., what do you think he's going to do this season? And do you think that he could possibly be the de facto number 3 wide receiver because of the way that they can use their tight ends in this offense and use them as wide receivers, I guess? I mean, it's a long ways to go for a rookie tight end to be like your number 3 wide receiver, but you get my point where maybe BB is the number 3 all season, but it's not as important because most of the time Irv Smith and Rudolph are on the field. What do you make of that? What do you think of Irv Smith?
No, I could see that because we talked to a Broncos writer a couple months ago about the Kubiak offense, and he mentioned that the second tight end is or first or second tight end is pretty much the third receiver in this offensive scheme. So I could see that being the case this year. It's just different because Irv Smith he's a rookie. He's a rookie tight end, and they don't really have that great of a track record of doing too well in their first season. So we'll see. I see him getting a lot of playing time this year. I see the Vikings doing a lot of 2 and 3, tight end packages out there on the field. Probably less packages that feature like 4 or 5 receivers. I think they're probably going to try and get away from that this year. So I expect the tight ends to definitely have a bigger role, and potentially they could take over that role as third de facto third receiver.
For sure. I think it would help everybody, help the quarterback, help the running game, help the wide receivers if those tight ends can play well and catch the ball well and be utilized in that way. I think that helps everybody. Is it like a necessity? I don't know. Is Irv Smith going to be that guy? I don't know. But I think that de facto number 3 as the tight end is very possible and would be good. We've talked about it a lot. We haven't talked about it for a stretch here, which is maybe a good sign. Offensive line, Adam. Is the offensive line going to be an issue this season, or can we maybe put that to bed for a little bit? I don't feel just saying that out loud was like gross. Absolutely not. You have to be worried about it. Knock on wood. Where are you at with the offensive line?
Yeah, I don't think you can put it to bed yet. You still got to see them, put a couple games together. Mm-hmm. But just like with Kirk Cousins, I think this offense is going to put the offensive line in a position, to succeed. They're going to not force them to, pass block for 5 seconds and get rocked by Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald out there. They're going to, get them in space, give them the opportunity to, run over guys. And then, I think it'll result in a lot better, production. especially having a bunch of tight ends out there too. I think they're going to focus on matchups in this offense a lot more, exploiting those out there, getting Dalvin Cook in space, maybe, getting, like we mentioned before, Irv Smith out in space, guys like that. But no, I think the offensive line definitely has the potential. Just like with anything else, they got to stay healthy. So far, so good. Well, Brian O'Neill hasn't played in the preseason, but he appears to be okay, I think, for week one. Mm-hmm. If not, I don't think it's a tremendous loss to have Rashad Hill in there for a week or two.
No, minor setback at best, I would say.
Yeah, and then they kept, like we mentioned before, they kept 10 offensive linemen, so they're definitely, more focused on keeping, their depth pretty good this year. Unlike maybe in years past when they've been scrambling to find guys off the street and bring in, and then
it feels like they were
worse and worse.
They were very concerned with improving the floor of the offensive line this year. It was like, we can have the guys that we have, but we have to have the backups get a lot better in case those guys need to come in. I think you nailed it right away, though, is the Kubiak-Stefanski offense is going to be built around making those offensive linemen's life a little bit easier. They're not going to put them on islands like they have in years past, and I think just that alone, for those of us who have watched a number of Vikings games over the last 4 to 5 seasons, just that change will feel like night and day. This offensive line is going to feel a lot more secure than it has in years past. Like you said, if they don't stay healthy, it's not going to matter because it's going to still be a disaster. But I think just that change in scheme and change in a couple of guys to bring the floor talent of the offensive line group, I think it's going to feel a lot safer and better to Vikings fans going into 2019. Let's say it doesn't go great. Let's say things kind of get derailed. Let's say the offensive line maybe takes a couple injuries and doesn't look very good. Let's say maybe Dalvin Cook gets hurt. Maybe it's not injuries at all, and they just don't look awesome. Knock on wood, because I'm going through a lot of these terrible scenarios.
This never happened.
Maybe they just miss a couple of kicks and miss a couple of games, lose a couple of games because of that.
No miss kicks.
If they struggle early, do you think the Stefanski play-calling role will shift? Do you think Stefanski will maybe get kind of scooted out for Coobs? What do you think happens if they struggle early on offense?
I would like that not to happen, but with Mike Zimmer still being the Vikings head coach and him now being known for not having the greatest patience in the world,
kind of his thing.
I could see him making sort of looking at last year and realizing that maybe they made the switch too late in the season from DiFilippo to Stefanski, that he could, if they're struggling earlier in the year, potentially, before week 8, if things aren't working out, then he might, demote. I don't know if they'll outright get rid of Stefanski because he's got the ability to do other stuff on the staff, but I could see them, having Kubiak take over play calling or something like that.
100%.
Or Clint Kubiak or something like that. Just because Zimmer likes to do stuff like that.
It feels like early in the seasons, the Vikings, specifically Zimmer, they get really impatient and really afraid. That was like the Daniel Carlson thing. He plays a couple more games. I mean, yes, it sucks that he lost that game for you essentially and blah, 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 but you wait that out. He's been really decent, and I don't think it would have been the end of the world for them to wait that out. But Zimmer was too impatient, and we can't have this, and this kid is not going to be the reason we don't make the playoffs. It's starting to become a problem, I think. I think the short leashes are becoming part of the reason these guys aren't successful. Would you agree with that?
All they do is think about not failing instead of succeeding.
Yeah. What are you visualizing? Not screwing it up instead of just making it.
Yeah.
Those
instead
are
of just
it's important.
Just like focusing on your job, you're more worried about, what your boss is going to think of how you do. Mm-hmm. And that's not a good way to go about doing anything in life.
I think there's a Dave Chappelle bit where he talks about It's
Careful.
it's impossible. No, this was an older Dave Chappelle bit, so it's not
okay.
going to be as. It's not one of the alphabet bits.
Well,
from
a
this
couple
last
people are a little mad.
Dude, I watched it last night. I kind of get why people were a little upset. Dave Chappelle.
Get over it.
Dave Chappelle has a little bit. I think it's Dave Chappelle, where it's impossible to look like you're not stealing when you're in a store and somebody thinks that you're stealing. Even when you're just nicely grabbing something and you like look at it looks like you're going to steal that thing. You know, it doesn't matter if they're looking at you that way. You're going to look like you're stealing. I think Zimmer is doing that to these kickers. It's impossible for these kickers to look like they're not going to miss when Zimmer's standing there waiting for them to miss. Mm-hmm. I think that's a huge part of the issue. The Stefanski thing, I would break my heart if they would give the offensive play calling duties to Kubiak early on. But this may be the only season where I could actually justify the short, like, we're all going to get fired if we go 0-5 here. Mm-hmm. So we can't go 0-5. You can't call the plays anymore.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a drastic situation like that for that to happen. If they're like 3-3, I don't think it's not going to.
They would have to. It would have to be pretty ugly, and then they would, So I could justify it this year because you might actually lose your job. Whereas, like, last year, Mike Zimmer, you weren't going to get fired, dude. If Daniel Carlson misses a couple of kicks, that's not going to be a reason to get rid of you or the general manager.
Well, I think he probably had probably some flashbacks
to Blair Walsh in the cold. Walsh. Yeah, can't blame him for that. I have flashbacks to it sometimes too. Terrifying, awful, traumatizing.
I'm so happy I didn't watch that game. Still haven't watched that game.
Seriously? Oh, it was the worst.
No, I was flying to Mexico during that game.
Nice. This was great. That's a lot better than what I was doing. Freezing my ass off, and then I threw my hat.
All I saw was the last kick, and I was like,
good.
So glad for unlimited drinks.
So I'm getting hammered. I'm on vacation.
Yep.
Well, that kind of concludes, I guess, for now, the offense. The 2019 offense preview. Later on, next episode, we're going to go through the defense and the special teams, and then do a little Falcons-Vikings preview. But for now, I think that is going to conclude this episode, Adam. Do you have anything else you would like to add? Are you excited? What else do you think about this offense? 53-man cut, roster, all that malarkey.
I think they're done with adding people, I feel like.
Yep.
I expected them to add some more people after Saturday.
For sure. I was expecting wide receiver for
especially, because they had only four receivers. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if there's any teams that go into the year with only four receivers.
No.
Especially these days in the NFL, it's a passing league.
100%.
But no, I like how it's shaped up. Hercules.
We didn't even mention him.
Denebo. I mean, we'll talk about those guys in the defensive preview. Mm-hmm. But some of those guys, some people thought guys like Hercules were only there just for a gimmick, just because it's a nice story. Turns out
he made the team.
Pretty good, and it's technically his first year. Technically, he's still a rookie.
Great point.
So, I think he's pretty good for an undersized defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm. I will be very excited to continue to watch him play football.
And if he does well, I think he's going to make Linval Joseph a little expendable.
Mm-hmm. Which would be a great position for the Vikings to be in.
Yeah, because Joseph is getting up there in age. So
he's probably going to be pretty expensive.
Yes, next year I think he is pretty expensive. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, buddy. Skull Vikes. We'll see you not next week.
Thursday.
See you Thursday. Skull Vikes.